Welcome to the Caribbean Cricket Podcast, your one-stop shop for all things West Indies cricket. By the fans, for the fans. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another Monday night call-in show, another Monday night live. I'm one half of the Caribbean Cricket Podcast, Machel St. Patrick Hewitt, and we're live. And it's live, Monday night Caribbean Cricket Podcast mashup. It's 10:34 to be precise. It's 10:34 p.m. in the UK. And as God is my witness, this show will not go past 11:30 p.m. tonight. I must go to bed. You lot, every time I tell you lot I must go to bed, you want to mash up my sleep. You want to keep me on the show longer than I need to be. So we're going to try stick to time. We're going to try stick to time today. Monday night live. Oh, so actually, first things first, before I begin. So the other day, I received an email from YouTube saying that there's now this new thing on YouTube called Super Thanks. So there's the Super Chat button, but there's actually also Super Thanks now. I've tried to go on other people's channels to see where to find it, and I couldn't find it. But anyways, somebody have a look for me and see if you can find it. I think apparently it means like if you put a comment. I don't even know how it works. I think it's a comment. Rather than a live comment, like it's a comment afterwards. And I don't know. Anyway, someone go looking for that. But apparently you can do super thanks now, as well as super chat. Super chat, I think, is for live. Oh, that's it. So, Brian, no, super thanks can be given at any time. Yeah, so anyways, yeah. So what we're going to talk about today, I had some topics written down, What did I write down earlier today? Okay, so we got some stuff to talk about. West Indies versus South Africa. Obviously, if it matters to people, they named a squad. I'll be honest, I'm not that fussed. Let me move this screen. I'm not that fussed about the squad. I don't think it's as deep as people are making it out to be. It's just some warm-up games. We know who's in the World Cup squad. So I'm not really reading too much into who was in this squad versus South Africa versus who wasn't in this squad. But either way, it's a talking point. So what else have we got to talk about? Somebody in St. Kitts, can't remember if it's like a director within St. Kitts, has leaked that Mikyle Louie has been called up to the test squad to tour England. So there's that to talk about. For those of you who are wondering if that, not just if it's true or not, why that would have leaked already and why Mikyle Louie would know already if he's in that test squad, it's simple. It's because certain players in the Caribbean have to get their papers in order and get their visas and things like that in order. This is why, I don't know if anyone remembers, Kevlon Anderson was supposed to tour South Africa for that A tour and didn't travel. Jordan Johnson got called up instead of Kevlon, and that was due to not having papers sorted and so on and so forth. So any player who's new to the test squad who's going to England would have been told by now, because they have to get their papers and affairs in order. So that's why I believe that wasn't just somebody saying it for the sake of saying it. I believe that's more than likely true. So there's that to talk about. What else has happened that we need to talk about? There was a press release today regarding they're going to double up, I think. I didn't even read it properly, but I think it was something to do with doubling up with the women's CPL and West Indies versus South Africa. I think that's what they said. Anyone who read that press release properly, I think that's what they're talking about. So there's going to be some double headers in the women's CPL. What else has been a talking point this week? So West Indies, South Africa, Mikyle Louie, the West Indies, the women's CPL press release. Should I say this? No, let me leave it. Let me leave that because that's conjecture and rumor at this particular point in time. Phil Simmons has taken a gig with Papua New Guinea ahead of the World Cup. He's going to be some kind of technical director or technical assistant for the Papua New Guinea team. So that's going to be quite interesting if they hand us licks in the T20 tournament. IPL, I did a short about the IPL, saying that this year's IPL was boring, and these Indian men, as ever, as is their wont, came for me with all sorts of comments. The only thing they missed out this time was they didn't bring the racism. Usually, if I say something about IPL or even insinuate that something in Indian cricket isn't perfect, usually you can bet about 10 to 15 Indian fans will like send gorilla emojis in the comments. I didn't get the gorilla emojis this time. This time they were just bitter. Them man are fragile. Them man, nationalism has got them weak at the knees. Weak at the knees, you know. Anyways, IPL sucks. This IPL has sucked. The only people, obviously, I get it. And Vince, there's a proper conversation to be had about this. It's actually not me just saying it for the sake of content, right? I get it. Like, IPL can survive just on its Indian audience. But if people are going to try and push to us that IPL is like this global behemoth and it's the biggest thing in cricket and it's the only thing that really matters in cricket, and life starts and stops in cricket where IPL starts and stops, if you're going to convince me of that, then it needs to be bigger than just the Indian ecosystem. Like, the reason why the NBA and the NFL is so successful in terms of them being a global behemoth is that a man in the UK who doesn't even play NFL will watch the Super Bowl, because the difference is the NFL has marketed their competition. It's an American-only sport in essence, or well, not an American-only sport. It's an American-dominated sport, but they have marketed it as if it's something the whole world should embrace. So when fragile nationalist men come to me and get angry that I've dared to not suck the toes of IPL, I'm always just thinking, yeah, but you're not marketing that competition for us lot to embrace it. And yeah, great, if you lot are enjoying it, great, but then don't expect us lot to flipping suck toes as well and say, oh, this is an amazing competition, isn't it the greatest thing that ever happened? Because it's not. It's too long. It's too long, man. Like, I don't know how, unless you're a betting guy or like you're a cricket tragic, I don't know how you got the stamina to keep watching. Can we be real? Let's be real about T20 cricket. Once you've watched one match, you've watched them all, you know. Don't get me wrong, I'm going to be watching the World Cup because World Cup's different, because World Cup is about, you know, like not that nationalism's cool. It's not. But World Cup's about wanting your country and your region to do well. So we'll stomach at the T20 games, and it only goes on a month. But once you've seen one T20 game, you've nearly seen every single other T20 game, you know. You've nearly seen them all. Wham, bam, thank you, man. That was instantly forgettable. Do you get what I'm coming from? It's like CPL. CPL last year. And again, people think that I was saying this stuff like particular to IPL. CPL last year was utter trash. It was rubbish. As an on-field product, CPL was horrendously bad. So this isn't about me being anti-IPL. If I think something's shit, I'm going to say it's shit. I couldn't care less if it's in India. I couldn't care less if it's in Trinidad, Barbados. If it's shit, it's shit. Just got to say it as you see it, you know. Anyways, let's talk, I guess. Let's talk. Like up the video, share, subscribe, all of that. I'm a fool though, you know, because I just dropped an interview that I did with Attaché Mansingh, who is Abhijay Mansingh's brother, about his launching of his new kind of business in Jamaica, Cricket Cave, which is essentially working towards revitalizing cricket in Jamaica, revitalizing Sabina Park and so on and so forth. So that was a really fascinating interview. So I just did that about an hour ago with Attaché. If you haven't seen it, obviously I've uploaded it, but like a fool, I uploaded it about 40 minutes before doing this live. So when I uploaded it, I was like, wait a minute. How can I expect people to come and watch the live when I've already uploaded content for people to go and watch? Anyways, if you're here live right now, cool. Go watch the interview with Attaché after this. If you've joined us on the replay because you were watching the interview with Attaché, also cool. Thank you and welcome. My throat. Chase Simmons. Yeah, Chase Simmons. Chase Simmons played for which team is it? Warwickshire this week, or last week, I should say, making his official debut, I think it was, and looked very good for Warwickshire. Before people say that he's another player thieved and stolen by the English system, I think it's his dad, similar to Jofra. His dad has a British passport. The Barbados to England production line continues. I think more than any other island, that whole process is almost welcomed and bought into and almost seen as like a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. Someone said to me recently, I can't remember who it was, said, would you ever see a Jamaican cricketer like of this current vintage give up playing for the West Indies because they had a passport that allowed them to go and live and play in England? Money talks at the end of the day. But I said no. But I said no, not because a Jamaican wouldn't want to do it, but no, because England doesn't let Jamaicans in. That's the difference. Barbados are welcomed like they're like England's long lost Caribbean brothers, whereas Jamaicans, we have the restrictions put on us in terms of getting into England and being able to live in England. So no, I don't think that would happen. So it's much harder for people from islands such as Jamaica to make a you better. Anyways, let me not talk. I'll get into politics there. In fact, let me get into politics. So because Guyana has discovered oil, Guyana now has the Guyanese now can come into England minus visa restrictions. Jamaica, just as argument's sake, which arguably has had the biggest cultural impact on this country, we can't get into England. I'm lucky I'm even here. We can't get into England. England? They don't want no yardmen here. You mad? They want to lock us off. So yeah, but anyways, we could get into the kind of socio-economic and historical reasons for things like that. I am a history and politics teacher after all, but let's leave that alone for now. Let's talk cricket. Let's talk cricket. Let me put the link in the thing. Let me put this link in. 1 second. I think somebody wanted to come on live today. Sorry, people. I needed to send this. A link. Anyways, the link is in the chat. We need to shut this off in 45 minutes. So the link is in the chat. I don't really want to set pace. You lot will decide what we're going to talk about today. I've given you some topics that you can think about if you so choose. Look at this light reflection. I'll give you some topics if you so choose. What on earth? And yeah, press the link. Press the link and let's get into it, people. Let's get into it. What do you want to talk about? No one's willing to press the I should have put a poll. No one's willing to press the link. Who wants to come on the live show? Who wants to talk? Let me see that South Africa squad, actually. Let me actually see that squad for this South Africa series, because I've not paid any attention to it. I've seen loads of people doing like loads of like real forensic videos about who's going to play and where's this player and where's that player. I just don't really get it, like it is what it is, Anyways, Jabu is first up. Let's see what he's got to say, Lord Jabu. Okay, let's get him on. Yes, Jabu. How you doing?
Good evening and good night, everyone. I am not too bad.
Good evening and good night.
Yes, but not good morning.
How you doing?
I'm not doing too bad. Just chilling, ready for the call-in. Lord Jabu Jabu. I see Tabu is in the chat as well, so apparently he has electricity today. Oh my
Yeah,
bad, I meant Turbo.
until the load shedding kicks in, he's in the live. I'm trying to push him. I'm trying to push him towards your island, and he wants to go live in Trinidad and Tobago, I believe.
Oh, he coming to protest? I know he wanted to protest. I mean, we still had to figure out if Tabu kissed the girl as yet from Instagram.
Thing is, we can't have these conversations because not everybody in this chat is privy to the Discord chat. So we're gonna have to keep that in the Discord unless Taboo decides to come on and tell us about his love life. We're gonna have to keep that in the Discord. But listen, what are we talking about cricket wise?
Okay, yeah. So let's start with the South Africa squad.
Mm-hmm.
So, of that series alone, you see anyone coming in that isn't already in the World Cup squad? You think anyone in that series is going to make any performance that might cause any changes to that squad?
In so much as becoming reserve players.
Yeah, most likely reserves, but even any possible ones in the 15.
Okay, let me just look through this squad. So for those who haven't seen the squad, King, Chase, Allen, Athanase, Charles, Fletcher, Ford, Holder, Hussein, Joseph, Mayers, McCoy, Multi, Shepherd, Walsh Jr. Okay, the player most likely to break through, or players, because everyone keeps saying that we've got three, we're going to have three reserve players. So the bigger question for me, rather than saying who breaks through, first pick who are your three reserve players coming out of that particular squad, then ask yourself if they break through into the final 15. Before I see these South Africa performances and just basing it purely on who I see written down, my three reserve players would be Obed McCoy, Kyle Mayers, and Hayden Walsh Jr. If I had to just pick three without seeing any further performances, that's what I'd go for. Who's your three?
Yeah, I can't really argue with that, honestly, because past those players, I really don't see anybody else who would fit into the reserves. It's really just those same options.
Yeah, because and the one that people may take issue with is potentially Hayden Walsh Jr. But my argument with Hayden is there is no harm in having a leg spinner in your reserves. Whether people think the leg spinner is good enough or not is irrelevant to me. I think it's useful to have a leg spinner.
Yeah, well, who else would you put there, really? You already have enough spin covered in the main squad, so a little bit of variety shouldn't be an issue. I mean, McCoy, some people would say McCoy should be in the main squad already, so I feel like he's a certain one who should get into those reserves anyway.
Do you know what will be interesting, though, to me? We obviously, Shamar Joseph is in the World Cup squad. Let's just say, argument's sake, Shamar Joseph ends up playing all three of the South Africa games. And let's just say, argument's sake, he was dreadful. Then what?
That's an interesting one, actually, because I would want to play him in those games, given that he only had one IPL game, just to give him some match fitness and rhythm before he starts the World Cup. So if he does really bad, I don't know. I probably wouldn't get rid of him or anything, but if it's possible, maybe just swap to the reserves and get McCoy in there, because McCoy was always one who I think would have been a better fit.
Yeah, and I think ultimately the reason why I make this point is, and what people have to remember is, none of us have seen Shamar Joseph bowl in T20 cricket, significantly so. So again, I'm just mindful of the fact that we've all made this assumption that, okay, well, he's an X Factor bowler, but we actually haven't seen him bowl significantly. So there is no guarantee when he plays in this South Africa series that he's going to have a good time of it. And if I was a I am a West Indian man, but if I was a West Indian fan who had championed the selection of Shamar Joseph, and then if I saw him get some serious tap versus South Africa in this warm-up thing, I would be very, very concerned ahead of the World Cup.
I think that pretty much covers it there. I mean, I didn't really want to ask too much more about this squad, to be honest, because, I mean, pretty much expected, given what we have to work with the current players in IPL. And yes, I mean, at this point, even though I watch a lot of IPL, I reached the stage where I fed up of it too.
Thing is, and you're somebody I consider to be a massive IPL fan. So if even you're fed up of it, then what are people like me supposed to be doing?
Yeah, today was a nice day not having a game.
Listen. Ultimately, obviously, a lot of the Indian fans are asleep right now. They'll be watching this on the replay, coming for my neck and leaving 10,000 gorilla emojis when they watch this. But it's not, for me, it's not so much the quality on the park, it's just the length of the tournament. And it's like I said in that short video, we're just not, as cricket fans, we aren't at that point yet as cricket fans where we're conditioned to believe that tournaments should go on longer than 2 months, much less 1 month. So I just don't think globally that's where we're at yet.
Yeah, there's a big part of the disconnect with it. And I mean, it have so many other tournaments too, just too much in general. So having this long one just in the middle of all of that just makes it that much more tiring to watch. Well, the final thing really is your thoughts on the possible, I don't know if it's certain or not, the possible Mikyle Louie selection.
I mean, if it's true, which I believe it to be, and he goes to England, ultimately he deserves it because of the runs, the volume of runs that he made. He was a top run scorer, therefore he should be rewarded. When Darren Bravo was the top run scorer in the Super 50, though, we said that he shouldn't be rewarded. I just want to remind people of that. However, anyways, Mikyle Louie has scored the runs. He gets rewarded for it. My argument is simply this, though. I've got no issue with him being selected, but it really speaks to where we are at domestically, that all you need now is one good season and you're just in the West Indies team. You don't even have to produce 2 seasons back to back. Just one good season, and you're actually, Kurt McKenzie got in because of one good score. So you could even argue one good score now gets you into the West Indies team. So my wider concern is how the line for West Indies selection isn't very high. You just have to score some runs one time, and you're probably in.
I just find it really funny that I didn't even consider how much less Kurt McKenzie did to get into the team.
A double century.
Even be surprised.
Double century got him into the West Indies team. That was it. A double century. So anybody who's in this live right now, go play some club cricket and hit a double century, and you too could probably get into the West Indies team.
You think Mikyle Louie gonna play any of the games, or you think he's just going as backup?
Good question. Very good question. My head tells me we don't know who the other opener is. We don't even know if it's going to be Tage. It could well be McCaskey, but whichever one of them it is, my head tells me that you should start with the person who's actually got some test experience for at least the first test. But given that they've thrown McKenzie in and Athanaze in, arguably, why wouldn't Louie get thrown in then? So yeah.
Yeah, I could see that. I personally wouldn't play him for the first test, but I mean, if he is going, then I guess in one of the following matches.
I should just address this. Shamar Grant says, where do you get your facts, mate? Mackenzie scored 18 runs and also runs in the West Indies versus West Indies match. Shamar, what I'm saying is, if Mackenzie didn't score that double century, he wouldn't be in the West Indies team. That's the facts. The runs he'd scored in the lead up to that were not of a volume that demanded he go straight into the West Indies team. And if anything, actually, if you want to talk about facts, he got dropped by the Jamaica Scorpions before going to play for the academy side. He only played for the academy side because the Scorpions dropped him. He then went and made, yes, a few runs for the academy setup, and then scored that big double ton, and that's what got him in. He's subsequently come back to the Jamaica Scorpions and made no runs again. So what are we saying here? Anyways, let me not talk because I'll get upset. Listen, Jabu, let me bring someone else on.
Yeah, that was pretty much all I had to say anyway. So we see what else we could hear from for the remaining half hour.
Indeed.
Let me just, before I go, say a final shout out to the Wooloo Panda staff. No voodoo battles to occur in the server. I heard somebody saying something about that.
Listen, I'm gonna let you go. You're gonna get this channel shut down. let me bring someone else on.
Later.
All right, no problem. Cool. Right, who's next? Acknowledge. Oh no. I know who this is gonna be. All this time I've been looking in the background, going, "Who the hell is Acknowledge Me?" Oh boy, it can only be with the wrestling guy. Oh God, what's he got for us this week, people? What's he got for us? Ah boy, let me get some water before I bring this guy on. 1 sec. Let me bring this up. Anyways, can we go back to a point I think I raised last Monday? And I'm being deadly serious now, no joke. Would you pick Hayley Matthews in the West Indies ODI side? No joke now. No joke. I'm actually being serious because I was thinking about this. All since last week I've been thinking about this. I think I'd pick Hayley Matthews in the West Indies ODI side, Who's with me on this? Not forget Test. We can't pick her in Test and we can't pick her in T20s, but I think we can pick her in the ODI side, At least a little one series. We can put her in a little one series somewhere in ODI cricket. Where's the harm in that? A little one series. I'm being serious. I'm actually being serious. I'm not joking this time. I'm actually being serious. Right, anyways, let me bring on Acknowledge Me. Let's see if it is who I think it is.
Acknowledge me. Hey, Mash, what's up, buddy?
Let me acknowledge you. Yes, I must acknowledge. Let me just quickly acknowledge before you start talking. I wanted the rest of the music as well. Let me just acknowledge. Okay, well, what are you saying?
Okay, I don't know if you remember me saying it at the end of the championship or throughout the championship, but Mikyle Louie, I said he was going to go to England, whether or not he goes as a main player in the 15, or if he goes as a backup or reserve player. Now, as the great legend that I am, as the tribal chief, I speak greatness into being. So, acknowledge me.
You know what? All right, come off the show. What's that?
Anyhow, I have a few questions for you pertaining to Mikyle Louie.
Yeah, go on.
Who has he possibly replaced, if anybody is being replaced? Is it Kurt McKenzie, Tajan Chandapal, or McCaskey?
Who's who replacing what? Louis?
Yeah.
Okay. do you think? Okay, let me put the question back to you. Would you start Louie in the first test at Lords?
No.
Oh, okay. Are you saying like who's coming out of the squad altogether?
Yeah.
I think it might be Tage. I think they might ask Tage to sit. I'm not convinced that's what they should do, but I think there's two ways of looking at this, right? Either you say that McCaskey didn't outperform Tage in the recent 4-day championship, therefore, how can Tage be dropped for McCaskey? And Tage is the incumbent. So either that's your first argument, or your second argument is Tage has been in bad form at the test level for a while, and then he went back home in the 4-day championship and didn't do anything to suggest that his form has recovered, in which case it would be him. And then you just give McCaskey a go just because it's McCaskey's turn to get a go. Mackenzie's staying though. Mackenzie's not getting dropped, of course not. It's 50-50. The thing we have to remember about McCaskey as well is McCaskey might have the Bayesian premium because the test squad to England will be the last squad that Desmond Haynes has a chance to pick before he loses his job. So I don't know if the Bayesian premium will also count, which will allow McCaskey to get a pick instead of Tage.
Well, on the contrary, I was actually thinking about that same thing yesterday, and crazily enough, I said to someone that if you look at it, it could even be Kirk McKenzie being dropped because of the poor first-class season that he had. But then again, remember the Australia Premium where he was the top one scorer. So the only thing I see happening is either they drop Tage and let McCaskey open, or Mackenzie open with Brathwaite and McCaskey goes number 3 and Louie goes as a backup. But it's going to be a hard thing. However, if Mikyle Louie is actually going to England, it would be surprising to see the rest of that squad, because I think we could even drop somebody like Athenaeus who did not perform well as well in the 4-day.
Mackenzie and Athenaeus aren't getting dropped. If Mackenzie and Athenaeus do badly in England, then I think, like, say they play all 3 test matches, which I would expect them to do so. If they do badly in England, then we can have a conversation about, well, boy, should they then get the chance to play at home versus South Africa? That's when we can have the conversation about Mackenzie and Athenaeus. But I would expect them to be given all 3 tests versus England. The one thing I will say about Louie is I will be surprised if Louie doesn't play one of the 3 test matches at least. So assuming that we lose in England, which you would have to argue is likely, right? It may be a case that by the 3rd test, if we're already 2-0 down, that's when you say, well, you know what, let's give Louie a little try, and so on and so forth. So I don't think any of this stuff has to be set in stone. The only batter in the top 6 for the West Indies who is certain that they're playing every test match no matter what is Craig Brathwaite. He's the only one that we can say, yep, he will play no matter what. Anything else could happen with all the rest.
Okay. Let me ask you another question. With the performance that Kevin Sinclair did in the regional 4-day, does that warrant him a spot in the top 6 as a batting all-rounder, as opposed to a bowling all-rounder, so that he can play and we still play somebody like a Jason Holder?
That's what I would do. But the other day, a good friend of mine said that Sinclair and Holder should be battling for the same spot, which would mean that the number 6 spot goes to an actual batter or someone like a Justin Graves. I don't necessarily agree with that. But then the question mark people have to ask themselves about Kevin Sinclair is, do they believe that Kevin Sinclair's batting at the regional level means he's now good enough to bat in the top 6 at the international level. There's question marks about that, but I guess the question I would say to someone is, let's say Justin Graves goes to England, just argument's sake. Is Justin Graves significantly ahead of Kevin Sinclair in terms of batting ability? As most would say no. Most would say no, I'd say. So
then again, you have the Bajan premium with Graves.
Quite possibly. But Holder's there anyway. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting. It'll be interesting all the same.
Also, do you see Tevin Imlach possibly getting a debut in England?
No chance. Zero chance. Unless Josh gets injured, no chance does Imlach play. Like good, well done to him on how he did for Guyana in the 4-day championship. But all that's done for me is cemented his spot as Josh's understudy for now. That doesn't mean that Tevin won't get his chance at some point in the future, because as I think I've said in, I don't know if it was the last live or a couple of lives ago, there is an argument to say that Josh could bat without the gloves at like something like number 6. And Tevin may well say there's an argument to say that he could bat without the gloves as number 6 or something like that as well. So if I was Tevin and Josh, I wouldn't be just focusing on being the best wicketkeeper I can be. I'd be focusing on how many runs can I make, because there's similar to like, do you remember when I swear there was a time, I need to remind myself, when Dowrich first debuted, I swear he debuted as a batter first and foremost, and he didn't actually first. I think Ramdin had the gloves before Dowrich had the gloves, and Dowrich initially debuted as a batter.
That time Dowrich was batting at 4.
Yeah, unless I'm mistaken, I swear Dowrich played as a batter first and foremost, and then Ramdin lost the gloves. I could be wrong, but I'll have to go back and check that.
Okay, fair enough. My last and final topic will be the bowling in the first match in England at Lord's, right? Will it be all seamers? If so, will it be the 4 fast bowlers and Jason Holder batting at 6? Or are you going to play Kevin Sinclair and 3 of the fast bowlers and 1 holder bench? Because I think all 4 will be going: Roach, Joseph, and Seals. What are your thoughts?
My thoughts are, as things stand right now, Roach and Seals will definitely play the first test simply because they're in England right now. And they're the ones most used to English conditions. And they're the ones who are most likely to use bowling smarts on English wickets, having played on them all summer, right? Or for the first part of the season. So then the next question you have to ask yourself is this. Jason Holder also played over here for a 5-game stint with Worcestershire. So that probably puts him in pole position to get a spot as well, which means that Alzari Joseph is in competition with Shamar Joseph. And there is no way, which speaks to where Alzari's game is, there is no way that Alzari Joseph is picked above Shamar Joseph at this current point in time in Test cricket. So the question mark people have to ask themselves is, do you play Jason Holder at number 8 because he can bat? Or do you play Alzari Joseph at number 8 to have a 4-man, quote-unquote, pace attack? Kevin Sinclair's playing for me no matter what. I have him at number 6. Kevin Sinclair's playing to be able to hold up an end with his off spin. So yeah, we'll see. It's an interesting one. I have right now. I have Alzari Joseph out of my test team right now.
Right now, I have Jason Holder out of mine.
Yeah, I can understand that. I can totally understand that.
The reason is Alzari Joseph is the vice captain, and he just got that role. And I don't think Craig is going to be playing without him as the vice captain and the leader of the bowling attack, because him being vice captain also is something we need to see him do more of leadership. And anger issues pertaining to when the fielders drop his catches, but we need to see him work more on the leadership and get his acts together. I think this is his final breakout year. After this, it's going to be rough on him in the test arena.
Yeah, I've got nothing against Alzari playing over Jason. I'm just realistic. We can't bat, and because we can't bat, whoever's batting at number 8 needs to be able to bat. That's all I know, you know. So in my mind, it's going to have to be Jason Holder or Kevin Singh. Whoever is at 8 needs to be able to bat, and that's not Alzari Joseph. So people just need to remember that's probably playing a factor in selection as well. Remember that chances are in England, I've said this last week, I think, chances are in England in the 6 innings we'll bat, probably at least half of them we will be 33 for 3, maybe 33 for 4. Okay, I think people need to remember that that's realistic in terms of what might happen to us in England. So the lower order needs to be strengthened to counteract that fact.
Okay, very much. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you have any questions for me, but
no, I acknowledged you, and now I've acknowledged that it's time for you to go. I'll see you next week.
All right.
Later. Right, Kevin, you're up. 1 sec. Yes, Kevin, how you doing?
Hey, Mash, good night again, buddy.
Yeah, I'm good.
So, we've put a lot of emphasis on, as West Indies, this is the home World Cup. We're going to win this World Cup, as, some people have been saying. But so it's kind of surprising to me that our captain, our vice captain, they're still in India. What are they doing in India? Everybody, the English guys, they've gone to camp. I think the South Africans are also. So what, do we not want to win this World Cup? I mean, where are our priorities? This kind of sounds like Chris Gayle showing up the night before the test match again.
It's a good question. Does it show? I mean, the obvious response is that it shows our standing in the world game. That we then, our board and our players daren't say to the BCCI or the IPL owners, you know what, we're gone. The World Cup is more important. And it's interesting that the England didn't hesitate, or the English players didn't hesitate to say, actually, preparation for the World Cup, as it should be, by the way, preparation for the World Cup is more important than playing some down bad IPL games. I guess Money Afimek and no West Indian player is willing to turn their nose up at that to come and get back to the Caribbean early to prepare. I'd love to know what preparation Alzari Joseph is going to have for this World Cup. Yes, he's in the nets, but how many games did he play at the beginning? 2 or was it 3?
I can't remember. I really haven't paid attention much to this IPL. So
yeah, so I think Alzari played the first 2, maybe the first 3, and that's been it. He hasn't played since the very beginning of the tournament. So, boy, I hope he's ready for this World Cup, because he's not going to arrive till late, having not really played any matches.
For the other thing for me, from looking at the scores in this IPL, I really don't think the IPL has been much of preparation for anybody coming to the World Cup, because I doubted that we're going to have those flat pitches that you can go there and just swing and score 50 or 100. So again, for me, I just don't understand why the guys are still there, but it is what it is. As much as the core of our team has played together for the last year, I think it's better in terms of preparation. It's better that everybody have been together for the initial camp, the camp around the South Africa series, and going forward into the World Cup. It should have been that. Actually, that should have been it. So,
yeah.
I mean, if we say we want to win the World Cup, I mean, then this doesn't match with what we're saying.
So what? Actually, let me ask you a question about that. Where's my squad list gone? What? Because we haven't really spoken about it this evening, but okay, let me go back to the squad. 1 second. So, as far as I know, based on this is just my assumption, Fabian Allen, Alec Athanaze, Matthew Ford, Should we say those 4? And probably Andre Fletcher, that's 5, right? 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. So 5 of the 15 that are going to play in the South Africa series will not have anything to do with the World Cup. What's your views on that? Like, we're playing these prep games knowing that some of these players they're not even reserves. Like, they're not even going to be in the World Cup. Like, what do you get where I'm coming from? It's a bit of a weird situation.
For me, I think it's again us doing what we have to, what we have available. And the good thing I can see coming out of this is that we have a pool of players that are ready to step in the worst case scenario that we have some injuries. That's the only benefit I can see out of this. But having this 15 with these guys that you mentioned, it's just us, keeping it's basically like the A team again playing at South Africa.
Who are I think it was the question I asked at the beginning. Who are the players at this point that you would, assuming we get 3 reserves, who are the players that you would pick from that squad without seeing the performances, where you'd say, yeah, those should be the 3 reserves going forward?
So for me, it would be McCoy, Hayden Walsh, and I think based off of his performances against Nepal, Fletcher.
Right. So I'm glad
I am
you
not
said
happy with the opening with what we have as the openers right now. But so that'd be my 3.
No, I'm glad you said Fletcher, because I said Mayers, but there's an argument to say based on what Fletcher did in Nepal, and if Fletcher gets some games against South Africa, I don't know if he will. There's an argument to say that he's actually ahead of Mayers in the pecking order, and by default, it should be Fletcher who gets rewarded, not Mayers, unless Mayers does something in these games.
Yeah, I think ultimately it'll come down to who does the best in these 3 games against South Africa. Of the 2 of them, for sure.
Indeed. But we shall see, we shall see. I think ultimately for me, most of my attention in these warm-up games will be on what Shamar Joseph does. I'm not too bothered about how many runs will Brandon King score or Johnson Charles or this, that, and the third. I just want to see what rhythm is Shamar Joseph in. Can he show us some signs that actually taking the gamble on him was important?
Yeah, true. I agree with you. The other thing for me, I would like to see, coming out of the IPL again, there's been a lot of talk about the big hitters in the South African 11 or the South African 15. I would like to see how they go against Moti, how they go against Hayden Walsh. Is there another spin? Oh, and
Akil.
Chase and Akil. How they go against these guys in these 3 games? Because again, I think this IPL has inflated a lot of guys' ability, just because it's just been flat wickets that you can just go out there and swing. So if there is a bit of turn in Sabina, and I'd like to see how they go against our spinners.
Indeed, it'll be very interesting. What would, if we lost the series 3-0 and were defeated badly in those games, would you be worried going into the World Cup?
Not really, because for me, if I was selecting 11s for these 3 games, it would be very experimental. It would be very experimental, and it would be telling the guys, I want you to have a specific role in this game just to see how you go.
Yeah.
So to me, it doesn't matter what the results are at the end of the 3 games. It is more about what we can, the knowledge we can gain of how people can perform in different roles and scenarios in these games, and just looking at form.
You're being way too logical and rational, because I reckon a lot of West Indian fans, if they see 3-0, they're demanding Sammy get sacked before the World Cup even starts.
The thing is, at the end of the day, these are just glorified warm-up games.
Yeah, true.
Because I think we have one warm-up game against
Australia,
which I really don't understand. How can we not have warm-up games in Guyana? West Indies have 2 games in Guyana. There are no warm-up games here. There'll be some practice. I think Board is one of the practice facilities, whatever. But again, I guess it's timing and having to squeeze in the IPL and whatever else. So there probably just isn't time to have enough warm-up games.
Yeah, the warm-up schedule, I saw it the other day, looks crazy. The IPL is really truncated and impacted on the start. I can't believe that we've got to a point where a World Cup feels like an afterthought because we had to wait for the IPL to finish like 3 days before the World Cup starts. Anyways,
we've got a man in India. He's cussing out everybody for leaving early.
Yeah,
he's cussing out his Indian players also, but that was not a conversation. Just before we started, I saw the video that you posted with the on Jamaica. And I'm pretty sure this was mentioned on the CCP before, where people from the private sector have to kind of take things by the reins to try and bring the fans back to games and cricket games in the Caribbean, and not just international games, but as at the grassroots levels, which Mansingh was talking about, trying to get just bring some fun back into going to cricket and watching local teams play. I like it, and I think if the same can be replicated throughout the cricket in Caribbean, it will help our game.
Yeah, 100%. And just as Kevin said, people, if you haven't had the chance yet to watch that episode before you go to bed tonight, it's uploaded about 35 minutes before this live show. So go back and take a watch of that to see what we spoke about with regards to Jamaica cricket. Listen, Kevin, I'm gonna move on. There's 3 more people left, and I'm mindful of the time. So
yeah, no worries. Just one question for you: did you get a chance to read my little article that I submitted?
Wait, did you send it?
Yeah, I did. You approved the post, so it's about the Providence Stadium.
No, you haven't sent it.
Yeah, I did. It was in the same message, so it was attached to the message.
No. Hold on, everyone who's in the live right now. Did you send it to the? Where did you send it to?
A few days ago to the Facebook page.
Oh, sorry. I thought you meant like to email or something. I was like, what? Right. Wait, I need to go back and look at it. Remind me of the synopsis of what you said.
So just looking at the Providence Stadium that has gone nameless for 17 years now since we've been cricket there. I mean, it's part of, wherever cricket is played, the ends are named, the stands, after, the great players that have passed, or even in some cases, present players. So it just me, I guess, venting about why it hasn't been done here.
Do you know what? I'm going to have to... You sure I approved it?
Yeah, you did.
I have. You're right. People. Oh, my goodness. Why didn't you send this to... You should have sent this to email so I could have posted it up on the newsletter.
Well, I can resend it to you. No worries.
No, I can... I'm
going
to
take it from there, yeah.
I can take it from there. But yes, sorry. Apologies, Kevin. You know what? I would have approved it because what happens is I get like the approval page is different to the posting one. So I approve stuff. And it doesn't mean I've always gone and read it yet because I just approve it. So I think I would have seen your name and gone, yeah, okay, that's going to be legit. And then I hadn't actually gone and read it yet. So people, anyone who's in the Facebook group, go and read the post by Kevin on Providence. Kevin, if you don't mind, I'm gonna transpose it over onto the Substack newsletter because it deserves a wider audience.
Yeah, no worries. For sure, I'm working on something, a deep dive into Kemar Roach's career because, as we've said, it will come to an end sooner than later. So I've been doing some light research and, looking at numbers, comparing him to other guys that have debuted after. I'm looking from the period after Courtney Walsh would have retired, and now who've been the guys that have played before him and with him, and looking at records and that sort of stuff. And basically, hands down, he's been the best of all those guys.
Oh, interesting.
Generally, the only blemish on his record has been his away record. But we'll get to that later.
Indeed. So actually, just because even though I said that I was going to move on, just quickly, when would you ask Roach to step aside?
The thing
is, we've got South Africa in the summer, Bangladesh at the end of the year, then Australia next year. Would you ask him to step aside?
I think it has to be a conversation with Roach and selection and senior people in the team, and say, listen, what are your objectives? What do you like to do? How long do you see yourself going? And from them also, from management, okay, this is what we see for you. And then have an actual proper discussion and come to an agreement instead of saying, okay, we'll give you 2 more games, and whether or not you like it, you're gone.
Yeah,
Because basically that's how we've operated, and
exactly. That's how we've done it to everybody else.
It's really left a sour taste in a lot of players' mouth. So it's best if they have an honest conversation and come to some sort of an agreement that can work. Because for me, honestly, I think Kemar Roach is eyeing 300 wickets.
100%.
Whether he gets it or not, it may not happen. But I think personally that's what he's eyeing.
In an ideal world, I think he wants 300. I think someone told me he's 30 away.
Yeah,
so
he's at 270.
He's got 7 test matches left this year, assuming he plays in all 3 versus England. He has 7 test matches left this year. So he would need to average 4 wickets. Yeah, which is doable. It's doable. I think Kemar is. I think he's eyeing 300 and then out.
Do you know when was the last time a West Indian bowler reached that mark of 300 wickets? It was in the 90s, man. It's been a long time.
It's got to be Walsh. No. Yeah, it's got to be Walsh or Ambrose, surely.
Yeah. Hasn't had anybody since then.
Yeah, exactly. So, we're talking literally nearly 30 years.
Exactly. So it's been forever. So,
All right, listen. Thank you for coming on, Kevin. I'm gonna get the last 3 in and then end the show.
No
Thank
worries.
you for coming through.
Take care,
man. Then. Take care. Right, people. Before I bring on who's left, Josh, Louie, and the werewolf. Before I bring them on, there was just some questions, and I was meant to start the show with this, so apologies. These came through on our Patreon page, so if anybody wants to, Sugar, do you know what? I never put this at any point in the show. Oh my gosh. 1 second, people. I'll do it in a minute. So if anyone wants to, you can support the Caribbean Cricket Podcast by going to www.patreon.com/Carib Cricket. So the following 3 questions, I think it is, comes from people who do support the Caribbean Cricket Podcast. And my apologies to them because I was meant to start the show with this. So Errol says, not counting yourself and Santoki, who would you like to see be made a selector of the West Indies for the next 4 to 5 years? Who are the people that use data and stats when it comes to assessing player performance? This is going to sound this is going to sound terrible, and I mean this with respect to all of the legends in the game. Nobody over the age of 50 in the Caribbean can be a selector. No one. Because this sounds horrible, but no, it is what it is. My chair's sucked. Let me put it up. Most of the plus 50-year-olds in the Caribbean who love cricket are still stuck in an era when West Indies were good. And because they're still stuck in this notion and era of when West Indies were good, it means that they believe that simplistic answers will fix West Indies cricket. Bish is an exception, so I'd accept Bish. I'd probably, do you know what? I'd accept Ganga, but Ganga's under 50. It's got to be people who understand. The first things first is it's got to be people who understand that the world of cricket has changed and that the West Indies place in the global cricket market has changed. This is before we even think about data and stats and all of that stuff. We can get to that part. But fundamentally, before we can even talk about data and stats and properly assessing player performance, we have to first accept that there has to be a cultural shift in the mindset of how we digest cricket in the region and accept that we are just above associate level. So stop talking about, but we had this man and we had that man and we used to do this in the 80s and we used to, times changed. Get with get with the effing script. Time has changed, man. So if you're over a certain age, you can't be a selector unless you have changed with time. People are still thinking People are still thinking that you can just go watch a man play cricket in the nets and you just know straight away that they're going to be good enough. Anyways, that said, I think Ganga. I'd pick Ganga, certainly. I know some people love to say that they don't like Ganga, but I think Ganga for sure. But you know what as well, actually, we have to be honest as well. A lot of these people don't want to travel around the region. Like, people want to travel first class and love up all the trappings of being like a head honcho or key person in Cricket West Indies. But are you prepared to travel to Jamaica and watch down bad cricket? Are you prepared to go to St. Vincent and watch another down bad game? Are you prepared to watch the under-19s and see who's coming up through the ranks? Are you prepared to fly to Northern Ireland and watch the academy boys? Like, it's not enough to just base yourself in one island and say, let me watch the games that are in this island and that'll make me make my decision. How much, like, this has to be a proper thing, you know, a proper thing. I think at the moment we're treating it as, okay, I'm going to watch a couple down bad games in St. Vincent or wherever, right? And then the data man are going to come present the data to me and say, right, Kurt McKenzie is a very good on driver and he has potential, so you should pick him. Okay, I'm going to pick Kurt McKenzie. True say he scored 200 as well. Like, how much traveling are you actually doing? Anyways, you lot got me talking here. Anyways, to give the answer, Ganga, 100%. I'd say Ganga. Who else? Who else has shown me that they've got the minerals for this? I'm thinking, you know. I'm thinking. Rough Cut says the games are streamed. No need to travel. No, nonsense. Nonsense. Because Rough Cut, based on that, then we all should be selectors then. I mean, I should be, so maybe you've got a point. But it's not enough to just watch games on a stream. Watching games on a stream is why some of you lot call for madness to be. That's why somebody will say stuff like, Joshua Bishop should be in the West Indies team. That's what happens when you watch games on the stream, you know. You just start saying all levels of madness when you just watch games on the stream. Boy, I need to think about that question anyways. Someone said Lara's selector. Impossible. Impossible. I'm just trying to think across the islands who I've kind of come across. So I'm like, you know what? You fully overstand what the modern game. If Coley wasn't a head coach, I'd like him as a selector, to be honest. But he is. If Jimmy Adams was prepared to travel everywhere, which he may be, I'd probably have him as a selector as well. In fairness. But do you know what we should actually have? Do you know what we also need to stop doing? We need to stop having cricketers as selectors. How about that? And by cricketers, I mean like former international cricketers. I think we need to move away from that. I know everyone's going to be like, well, how can you know? Like, how can you know if you didn't play the game at the highest level? How do you know who's good enough? Did Arsene Wenger play the game at the highest level? So we need to also get out of this mindset that just because you are a brilliant cricketer in your time, that you know who should be picked for the West Indies. We need to get out of all of these mindsets. We need to get out of all of this. And also, do you know who else? Do you know who else the select should be? We really probably should have somebody from overseas be a selector, because true say in the Caribbean we're dunce. And when I say dunce, I mean if a man is from Jamaica and they're a head selector and they pick a couple Jamaicans, people call insularity and bias. If they're from Barbados, same thing. Guyana, same thing. So actually, we could probably do with the head selector not even being from the region, and therefore willing to just be like, I'm just calling who's the best players. And then no one can claim it's Bayesian premium or Guyanese premium or this, that. and so on and so forth. Listen, this is a conversation for a whole podcast. I ain't got time right now. My bed is calling me. I know some people are in the background saying, when are you bringing me on? But that was a really good question. That was from Errol, by the way. Errol's in the live right now. Big up, Errol. That's from Errol. This is from Sheikh. Sheikh says, is the door truly closed on Rakim Cornwall? Is there any way back for Jimbo into any of our sides without addressing the obvious elephant in the room? Every time I talk about Jimbo, people say I'm biased. So I will just say this. Jimbo is a better T20 opener than Johnson Charles. That's all I'll say about that. That's all I'll say about that. People are going to go mad right now. But to answer the first part of the question, is the door truly closed on Rakim Cornwall? Yes, 100%. Rakim Cornwall will never play for the West Indies again unless he makes a level of commitment that we've never seen before to addressing the issues that we all know he's got. He will never play for West Indies again. But then he doesn't have to, because Rakim Cornwall can go play some down bad Houston T20 Open, Atlanta T20 Open, US Open Cup, minor league cricket. Rakim's going to eat. Literally and figuratively, he is going to eat. So he don't actually need West Indies, I think, to be able to make a living off this cricket thing. So I think we're done. I think we're done with Rakim and the West Indies. Last question from Shakes. Shake says, could Jaden Seals bowl his way into our white ball setup? In time, yes. So when I was in the Netherlands 2 years ago, Jaden was, if I'm not mistaken, Jaden was there, and he bowled in some of the, I think he bowled in maybe one, maybe two of the ODIs. He's got potential to, over time, Jaden's got potential to obviously be a strike bowler certainly in, you'd like to think in ODI cricket. And he's obviously, remember, Jaden's played well at times for TKR in CPL. So Jaden's obviously got white ball ability, but I think we have to remember with Jaden that it's about workload management with Jaden. We've already seen that he's had a major injury early on in his career. So as much as it would be highly beneficial to get Jaden Seals into our white ball setup at some point, if it doesn't suit the workload management, I wouldn't be rushing it. I wouldn't be rushing him into it. I would be making sure, remember, Jaden's only, 22? I would be making sure that we don't make the same mistakes we made with Alzari, where we just bowl him into the ground and then wonder why he's not progressed at the rate we thought he was going to progress at. So we just got to be mindful of that. Anyways, that's that. Some good questions. Thank you to the patrons. Like I say, if anybody wants to, and you definitely want your questions highlighted, you can support the Caribbean Cricket Podcast on www.patreon.com/CaribCricket. How many likes? Anyone who's watching this live, how many likes are there on the show at the moment? Like the video, share the video, all of that. If you haven't done so, do so now. Anyways, last two callers. Now, before I bring them on, I beg you, let me go to bed soon. This has already gone on. Please, I beg. 60 likes. You lot are stingy. You lot are stingy with the likes, man. Got me out here. Oh, yeah, got me out here. Giving myself a sore throat. Josh, let's bring him on. What? Josh is hoovering.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Is that the fan or is that the Hoover?
What were you talking about? Oh, that's your fan.
What are you saying, Josh?
No, you're killing me there. I want to say something, right? How about this is gonna go crazy. Just take a deep breath, everybody.
Okay, hold on. Let me take some water before you hit me with this one. Yeah, go on.
Here we go. If Haley Matthews was a plane, let her be selector, or Stephanie King, Stacey King
Yeah.
as head selector for West Indies cricket. What do you think?
Mm-hmm. If she's Stacey King as head selector for the senior men's side.
Yes, or Haley Matthews if she wasn't playing.
So interestingly enough, when I was thinking about who could be selector, I was about to call Melissa Aguilera.
I was even thinking of that too. Yeah, even she.
Even
if people are coward enough to say, "Oh, these women can't play," all right, let them choose the men's team.
I have obviously remember the what was it last week? I don't know if you watched last week's show.
I watched all of them. I watched all these shows.
Okay, so when I said in last week's show about Haley Matthews, it unleashed some of the craziest sexism from some of the uncles. So we have to be mindful that even if your Stacey Ann King suggestion is true, the uncles in the region would never accept that a woman should be selecting the West Indies men's senior side.
Oh, that's their problem, and that's why West Indies can never move forward. I'll leave that part right there, you know? Well, now I'm on the phone now. Yeah. So, yeah, Machel, first of all, I want to touch on the Atishay thing that you did earlier. It's actually a good friend of mine, someone who we actually grew up playing cricket together. We played cricket together from childhood. So I know his brother, I know Brandon King, I know all of them pretty well, right? And yeah, we all grew up in a time. I'm older than Atishay by a little bit, but we grew up in a time where cricket was the sport. Like, and that is in the early 2000s, late 2000s, right? And we, like, it was a thing to go to summer camp every summer to play cricket. They don't do that anymore. At least to my recollection, I used to grow up going to summer camp every summer from June to August to play cricket at Sabina Park. And even when we used to go there, the advertising board would be there. So clearly corporate Jamaica and private sector Jamaica was sponsoring even the summer camps in Jamaica. You know what I mean? And that has been diminished over the last, I would say, definitely 5. By extension, I would go with 10. Right? And Atishay is right. Corporate Jamaica and private sector Jamaica don't even give a squiddly dot what cricket even is. They didn't even remember what that exists. You know, and I say this here, I'm going to say this, right? I had a conversation with someone, I'm not calling no name. And I said, would you sponsor or look into investing in a couple of the cricket games coming up? And I said, excuse me. What are we going to get in return? I said, cricket. And they're like, we don't get money from that. I was like, but we have to start the program now. Over time, it will come. And that by itself shows you where corporate Jamaica is at with cricket, right? It is, and you saw it with the bid. The government went in with the notion that we won't make money out of it. Not realizing cricket is the second most popular sport in the world, and not realizing that there is an opportunity to rebuild cricket, and not just cricket, but sports in Jamaica. Also, we're moving to a time where we no longer just put on a sporting event. We're now putting on an entertainment package. Events and sports needs tied together. Now we have what you call a production. Both of them has to be intertwined to get the attention of people. And that's how they're going to have to move forward to revitalize the game of cricket by creating a whole fanfare, family, almost party atmosphere around the idea of cricket itself. Do you understand what I'm saying, Mash? Mash? Oh my golly. Mash? Mash?
I'm back. Can you hear? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear.
Listen, people.
I nearly called 119.
How long was I gone for? you know what happened? I forgot that I hadn't. I forgot that I hadn't plugged my laptop in, and then that button came up which just says your laptop's about to shut off. I was like, oh boy. Anyways, I'm back. Listen, Josh, carry on.
No, but I'm crying right now. You have no idea.
Listen, anything can happen on the Caribbean Cricket Podcast, you know.
Yeah,
I'll just leave guests on their own on my own show and just disappear.
Oh God, I'm crying. What? Did you hear what I was saying, no, Mash?
Yeah. Carry on, yeah.
And so yeah, cricket in Jamaica, it's not dead. You're right, it's dormant, but unfortunately, you know the key people that we lost, corporate and private sector Jamaica, and they're gonna be the hardest to get back on board. Because you're gonna need them to help push the narrative, and you're gonna need them to pump the money, and you're gonna need them to push the marketing. And that's really, I don't think we've lost local regular people's love. But it's one thing having the local support, it's another thing having behind it. And it's going to take a long time till you can get corporate and private sector Jamaica back on board.
Let me ask you a question, actually. Something that I kind of touched on slightly with Attaché. To get corporate Jamaica back on, back in sync with cricket in the region, do the Talawas have to come back?
I think it would be very important that they do. I think it would be very important. It is a must, not necessarily, but if they do, it's a boost. That's what I would say. I think we need to focus on ground level of Jamaica right now. We need to get people in the positions of power that understand what cricket means and love what cricket is. That's how you start in the mind. I'm sure you didn't start the Caribbean Cricket Podcast for the sake of doing a podcast. You started for the sake of the love of cricket and spreading news about cricket in the region. True or lie?
True.
So you have to start from a position of understanding the love of something before you just do it for doing its sake. You understand what I'm saying? And like I said, Attaché, Brandon and I, and a couple of other people, not so much Brandon, but a couple of other people, we used to go to summer camps every summer. They don't do that anymore. That's a big, and back then, Scotiabank, like Attaché pointed out, Scotiabank used to sponsor the prep school cricket competition. I think they did the high school. They don't do it anymore. They don't do. And then what you have is a government that, not to say that they don't care, but they're not investing in it. They're investing in football. They're investing in tracks. They're even investing in other sports, netball, everything else, and they've forgotten cricket. And it's like dismal. Machel, did you not see the news the other day that the other Caribbean islands are expected to make 40 million US each post World Cup?
Yeah.
That is you know what that is for the economy.
Yeah, but you and I both know that the current ruling party will always argue that Jamaica makes so much money from tourism that it doesn't need.
By the way, it's a fact. That is true. I see that. That is genuinely true, and I understand their point. But you can't put. We're a third world country. You can't turn up your nose off against money. That's telling a broke man, would you choose to get the job to become a millionaire, or tell him to wash the dishes? You know what I mean? You can't turn your nose off money. We can't turn on opportunities to make our extra, to invest back into the economy. That's crazy. And then, so that's that in terms of that. So Jamaica cricket, it's not dead. You're right, but I would say it's dormant. You know, and I don't think we lost the love of the regular people, but I think we've lost corporate Jamaica. I genuinely think that, and we have a lot of work to try and get them back. We will have to, because they're the key, you know, Mash. You know this.
Yeah.
Once money is being pumped in, it drives attention, it drives pull, it drives. That's why you see the Jamaica Premier League doing well. They have literally got the backing of corporate Jamaica right behind it. It is a machine, and that's why it's doing so well right now. You understand? I want to move on to two more points because I know you said you want to come off. I don't want to take you up too much, right?
I'll just shut the laptop down. You know, I've done it once already.
Oh Jesus, Jesus! Listen,
I'll leave you to finish my show for me.
Oh my god. I'm gonna go through these quick because I know you said you want to go. IPL. Now let me tell you something, Mash. I did my master's in sports marketing and management when I was in London. And one of the things I learned is something called competitive competitive balance. That is understanding the balance between having a certain tournament format versus the overall impact of the tournament, meaning attention span, viewership, and all of that. A 2 month tournament for cricket is way too long, Mash. Way too. And not only that, it's too long, it is too congested. It's not like they do a thing like in the football world where they're like a game on a Saturday and a Sunday and then a midweek game. It's literally every single day of the week. What that does is it drives consumer into boredom over time. So the IPL format is stretched. It's a little too long. I like it as a competition, but in a structure, it needs to change. In fact, I would predict in another 5 years' time, I think cricket tournaments will be moved into a league setup rather than just as a tournament as you see. I do see that happening because they're going to realize that they need to stretch it out to keep that tension span. I have switched off from the IPL from the end of April.
Yeah, I lasted 2 weeks and then said I've had enough of this. It's just too much. It's just too much.
And that's why I like the CPL. It's stretched out. It's not too congested. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And the last thing I want to say, because again, I know you have to move on. Evan Lewis, I did say that to you in a message. And I said, how interesting is it that she's been called up to a camp? Then you have this thing here, Australia, the South Africa games coming up, which I will be going to, by the way. And he's not selected. That rings 2 bells to me. Either or they say, oh, he's not looking good enough to even be a reserve, or we just brought him in to start the process of bringing him post-World Cup.
Right. So I'm glad you said that. So Santoki and I recorded an episode, I can't remember now, maybe about 5 days ago, whatever it might be.
I think it was last week Thursday.
Looking at the Evan Lewis issue. Now, Santoki said at the time, he said Lewis is back because they're considering taking him to the World Cup. And I said that I thought Lewis was back because that latter point that you just made, that it was about almost like giving the olive branch of saying, we plan to pick you in the future. We're welcoming you back into the fold. Now, for him not to be selected for this South Africa series tells me one of two things. Either one, that was never the intention, and it was just about bringing him back into West Indies camp and making him feel wanted again. Or two, it was about bringing him back into the camp with an eye on maybe selecting him for this series, but realizing actually he's not quite there yet. It's one or two for me. I don't know which one, but it's got to be one of those two.
I think is the first one. I think they're preparing him to say, listen, we're ready to pick you again post World Cup. You know? What I would say is, had he gone to the Nepal tour, I think he would have been in consideration.
100%. And it's worth pointing out and reminding people that he was selected for the Nepal tour. And declined to go. I've heard lots of different reasons for why he did. I won't say any of them because I've not had any confirmation on any of them. But I agree with you, Josh, in that.
I think if he was selected, if he went to that, I genuinely think, and I would have wanted that to happen, and he would have looked like Machel had broken bread with Evan Louie, which God knows. I mean, maybe you should be the next selector. But I'm going to end this by saying my reserves, because I know that's a question that people will be asking. If Evan Lewis have went on this South Africa game, it would have been Evan Lewis, Obed McCoy, Fabian Allen as my reserve list. I would now go with Obed McCoy, Fabian Allen, and I just might go with Andre Fletcher.
Okay. Just explain, I'm not against it. And if we ever get the old Fabian Allen back, it's an absolute must pick. But why have you got Fabian?
Why have I got Fabian? No, just because I do think that I actually think he's better than Hayden Walsh. I know you might disagree with that. I do think he has the three-dimensional feeling, batting and bowling. I do think so. I listened to the Nepal series. He sounded like he's finding his groove. He's not quite there, but he's finding his groove.
I agree with you. Yeah.
He's finding his groove. So, I think the fact that he's been in the camps and he's here now, I think he's a lot closer than 6 months, a year ago. You know what I mean? And I do think he's high up on the Western Darren Sammy's list. I do think so. I just think things haven't been favorable to him, and I think unfortunately he's not in the work. But I do think Sammy do have. I actually would say Sammy has him in his top 20 players in his work T20 setup overall. If Sammy was to have a 20-team camp, I think he's in that list.
And I've got no issue with that whatsoever. I think it's people will forget that 3 years ago, Fabian Allen, maybe some will say this is a bit of a stretch, but 3 years ago, I think there were some of us who thought he's our next big thing.
I think some people used to think he was a replacement to Andre Russell.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And
I thought the very same thing. You know what I mean? He's pretty similar in the dynamics, how he plays and stuff. And I think he's slow. He's not there yet, but I think he's slowly finding his groove again. And I think my three would be Fabian Allen, Obed McCoy, and Andre Fletcher. That's my reserve list. But my last question, and I'm going to leave at this, is what's the relationship with Evan? Because let me ask you, let me tell you why. I'm genuinely a fan of Evan Lewis. Like, there was a time when I genuinely thought Evan Lewis, like Chris Gale was handing over the gauntlet to Evan Lewis to take over from him. That's my thought at the time. And it looked like it. You know what I mean? I don't know if you agree with that or not. But what is Evan Lewis' future? I think he's 33 or 34.
32.
See, that's not a lot of time. So the question we have to ask is I think the next World Cup is 2026 or 2027.
He's got time for the next T20 and even the next ODI World Cup if he wants it.
That's okay. You answered my question then. Because that's what I was really gonna ask. Is he gonna be there for those? That was really my question. Yeah. I would
personally, if after this World Cup, I would go all in on Evan Lewis, because Johnson Charles, that's it. After this World Cup, that's it for Johnson Charles, right? Or it should be.
I don't even know why he's in this squad, but oh well.
Right. So this should be his last swan song, right?
Oh, and by the way, I do agree with Rakim Cornwall. He is better than Johnson Charles. Their uncles, come for me all you like. I'm in Jamaica. You know where I am.
I'll provide the address as well. But no. But no, I think after this World Cup they go all in on Evan. The problem as far as I can see it is that Evan, and it's something that afflicts a lot of us in the region. We just can't take foolishness. And Evan comes from the Caribbean tradition of he will not let any man talk down to him about any. I guarantee this is what it is with Evan. If he thinks you're full of shit, he's just gonna step off. As he don't care what's on the line, he's just gonna step off. So
no, I agree. He strikes me as someone that stands on his ground. He's not taking no type of talk. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He strikes me as someone that, are you gonna play with my time or not? You know what I mean?
Yeah, easy.
But Evan, and I hope he's listening. The same goes to you. You're dealing with a cricketing territory and is passionate about his cricket. Regardless, the perception will always be you're choosing yourself over the West Indies. That's selfish.
Yeah. And
so it goes both ways. You see what I'm saying? It goes both ways.
Yeah.
So fire for two of them. Fire up on both sides. You understand what I'm saying? No, seriously.
I hear you.
Anyway, Mash, I don't want to. I know your bed is ringing like, yo, I need to go to bed. But and you know what? Might as well just have it locked up to shut it down, because the rate that you're going at, you might not even end it.
Listen, I got one more.
Mash,
so let me go do that.
I'll try and check in next time, and hopefully we can. By the way, people, if you want to check me out, you can check me out on JB Sports Review. That's JB sports review on Instagram. If you want to check out my stuff, I talk about all things sports. And if you are any other fan but United, please leave me alone. Thank you.
Later, Josh. Take it easy.
You take care.
Yeah. Listen, Josh did the plug, you know. Josh just said, you know what? I'm on CCP. Let me get this plug in before I leave. But no, Josh is good people's people. Go on a real one. Go and follow him on Insta. Hopefully you all caught that, where his channel is. I always get it wrong. So actually I'm going on Insta right now. JB Sports. Josh, put it in there. Josh, I don't know what I'm doing right now. 1 second, people. So Josh's handle is JB. I'm so rubbish on Insta. JB Sports Review. JB Sports Review. Okay. That's where you can find Josh on Insta. Anyways, Louis. I always forget if it's Lewis or Louis. We've had Lewis or Louis on the show before, our Brazilian correspondent. Lewis or Louis, the thing is, I'm tired. So I know you've waited, but we can't do a 10-minute epic. I've got work. I've got to get up for work in. I've got to get up for work in 5 hours and 30 minutes. Please, I beg, Father God, please. Wait, where's he gone? Wait, Louis not even there anymore. Oh my gosh, I scared him off. Louis just disappeared from the back. I was just about to bring him on, and he's gone. He must have heard me calling out to Jesus and said, you know what? Let me just let Mash go to his bed. Right. I guess that's the end of the show then. I don't know when Louis disappeared to, but I guess that's the end of the show. Yeah, maybe maybe he disconnected when I actually disconnected. People, that was an eventful one. At one point there was about 250 something of you concurrent in the live. Tired out here, man. Oh my gosh. Oh gosh, I need to get this show sponsored. These Monday night shows, are they good, you know? On a serious note, people get paid for these stuff on radio. I'm just out here just doing it for free. Yeah, need to get Monday night sponsored. Hit me up, people. Hit me up if you want to sponsor this particular segment. You don't want to sponsor the whole of CCP, but you want to sponsor the Monday night show. Hit me up. We can put your little logo. In the top right-hand corner somewhere. Brought to you by Jambisco Cream Cracker. Remember that one? People, let me lock this one up. Thank you, everyone, for coming on the live. If you've never called in before, call in next week. Every Monday, people, we're here. If you're new to it this week and you're from Trinidad, I will be in Trinidad in approximately 3 months' time, in under 3 months' time, for the first test versus South Africa. I told a colleague at work today that I was going, she's Trini. I said, yeah, I'm going Trinidad. And she said, do you know anyone out there? I said, well, I know people. She's like, do you know anyone who will actually show you what Trinidad's like? I was like, well, I know people. And then when I said to her, she said, how do you know them? And when I said to her, well, online, she looked at me like I was the saddest person in the world. She couldn't believe it. I was like, yeah, through cricket, you know. I know them, but I just never met them before. Anyways, I'm going to be in Trinidad, people. So 6th of August to the 14th of August to take in the first test match at Queen's Park Oval, Port of Spain. So yeah. If you're in Trinidad, hit me up. Because do you know what? The joke is I genuinely don't know what I'm doing when I'm there. Obviously, I'll go to the test matches, but I don't know nothing about Trinidad. And I know what I'm like. I won't look up anything. I won't look up any tour guide. I'm going to land at the airport and not even know how I'm getting to where I'm staying. I know what I'm like. I'm just going to be sitting. I'm going to stand in the airport guy and say, what what do I do now? So Trini people, particularly those of you in the Discord, how do I avoid getting ripped off at the airport? Because they're going to take one listen to my accent. I can speak Patois if I have to, but the Trini thing, I can't get by just singing "Drink Water and Mind My Business." I don't think that's going to get me by in Trinidad. So Trinidad people, you'll have to give me the guide. You have to give me the guide to how I get through this one. Anyways, people, listen, let me lock this off. I'm going to go to my bed. I've got work to get to. Yeah, I could. What if I actually, that's a good point. If I go Trinidad and just speak Patois, will the local Trinis be like, listen, this Jamaican, we just got to let him? Because I can do it, you know. You don't think this English accent that you hear is how I talk? Listen, put me in the right situation and I will tell people about their bumper. Anyways, listen, let me get out here before I start talking more reckless. People, thank you as ever for being on the live show. Next Monday, back again. Monday nights, Caribbean Cricket Podcast live call-in show. All of that. Like on the way out, share, subscribe, road to 9K, support the Caribbean Cricket Podcast. Santoki and I are recording something tomorrow, so look out for that. What else are we doing? I'm thinking of doing a watch-along for the first T20. I can't do it on Saturday and Sunday. I'm busy, but I'm thinking of doing a watch-along for the first T20. Haven't done one of those in a long, long time. So if you're into watch-alongs, let's do that. Sorry, on Wednesday. And yeah, anyways, enough chat. Thanks, people. See you soon. I'll be Machel St. Patrick Hewitt, one half of the Caribbean Cricket Podcast. Thank you and good night.
We rule the cricket world. Now the rules seem coming.
Welcome to the Caribbean Cricket Podcast, your one-stop shop for all things West Indies cricket. By the fans, for the fans.